We're going to call out the MAGites. We're going to call out the MAGites, man. Donald Trump calls for key Republican congressmen to be primaried. And that congressman is the one and only Thomas Massie. President Donald Trump ripped into Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky on Monday night over opposition to a bill to continue funding this U.S. government. Republicans are attempting to pass a Trump-endorsed quote-unquote clean temporary funding bill or continuing resolution before the government shut down on March 14th. Massie, a staunch fiscal conservative, has a history of opposing his party on some key votes. Despite Trump's wishes, Massie has repeatedly refused to back the CR to fund the government. In a post on X Sunday night, the congressman asserted he would be a no on the CR this week, and you can hear a little bit more about it now.
It as a conservative CR versus liberal Democrats, and even the Democrats are going along in the House. But let me tell you why that's a fake fight. They plan to pass it with all Republicans here in the House, but after we leave town, the Democrats are going to vote for it in the Senate. That's right. They're going to need about 8 Democrat senators to vote for this thing over in the Senate. That means that this deal has already been cut, that Mike Johnson has cut a deal with the Senate Democrats, Senate leadership, and even Hakeem Jeffries, he's in on this, so that they can pitch their fake fight here in the House. Now, why am I so certain this is going to pass in the Senate when it gets over there with 8 Democrats, or however many Democrats they need? Well, Mike Johnson is sending us home a day early. We're going to vote on this thing and skip town. If you thought there was really a threat of them not passing it in the Senate, why would you leave town? The other thing that's going on is the Democrats have a retreat, an off-site retreat, where they're going to get together and party and have, guest speakers and stuff. And that starts tomorrow and runs through Thursday and Friday. Now, you think they're not going to let this thing pass? What would happen if, let's say, the Freedom Caucus decided to take the conservative stance on this CR and oppose it? Well, they would be about 30 or 40 votes short here in the House, the Republicans would. But Hakeem Jeffries wouldn't be able to pretend, along with Mike Johnson, in this fake fight, that this is a conservative versus liberal battle in the House, and he would just hand over at least 40 Democrats. And once you get to 40 Democrats, it'd probably be a whole lot more Democrats. So that's what's going on. It's all a fake fight. You're going to find this out when it goes over to the Senate and you have Democrats in the Senate voting for it. Now, here's the other thing a lot of people aren't telling you about this bill. In the FRA, stands for Fiscal Responsibility Act. I'm not saying it was that responsible, but in the FRA that passed a couple years ago under Kevin McCarthy, the deal that was cut between myself and others on the Rules Committee was that if you will guarantee a 1% cut in spending on any CR that goes past April 30th and put that into law, use the sequester language and put that into law, then we would raise the debt limit or suspend the debt limit for a period of time. I voted for this because a 1% cut seemed like a wonderful thing if they would go and do a CR for a full year, which seemed like almost a certainty at some point in the next 2 years. Well, here we are under Mike Johnson, and we've got the 1 year CR that they're going to do. It's actually a 6-month CR because we're already 6 months into this, and it's going to go past April 30th. It should trigger the sequester. But guess what? Mike Johnson's folks and lawyers have said, we're just going to ignore that. We're going to treat this continuing resolution as 12 appropriations bills or an omnibus for the purposes of this sequester.
He has this all over social media if you want to watch it. It's a good 7 minutes long. I'm just going to bring this up, and I don't like to play these games. If this clean CR was Joe Biden's continuing resolution, Republicans would be stomping their feet and saying, this is not a good thing and we need to stop this and blah, 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 blah. But because Trump has endorsed it, once again, the MAGites have fallen in line, much like the intellectual Dan Bongino.
I don't agree. And I have defended Congressman Massie in the past. You just go back and watch the shows. I don't get emotional about these things. He has been amazing on the January 6th pipe bomber case. Incredible. He is wrong here. I'm sorry, he's wrong. He doesn't have a tactical plan to cut spending. I just gave it to you. Get rid of this CR, deal with it for 3 more months.
See, Bongino's wrong. because Massie already agreed to a plan to cut spending back under McCarthy. But Mike Johnson is ignoring it. So tight shirt Bongino over here can try to hem and haw as much as he wants about tactical advantages and how to do things. But Massie, because Massie has a master's from MIT, isn't actually a genius. Now, I'm not calling Dan Bongino stupid, but it's not a fair fight. Massie knows what he's doing. Bongino is a very good law enforcement personnel, but he wants to talk about policy. He's kind of like me talking about diets. It doesn't really work out that well. But I want you to listen to the rest of this diatribe that Bongino is saying essentially to Thomas Massie and to anybody that would dare speak out against, the chosen one, Donald Trump.
Move on to reconciliation and fight the fight there where you actually have the numbers. Does that make sense? Anybody disagree? If you think that I'm a toolbox and a jerk right now and you're like, that's just crazy, tell me in the chat. I'm open. All I'm asking you is if you believe that, tell me what your plan is. Tell me what your plan is to get over the Senate filibuster.
The plan was, why don't you do what was previously agreed? Why don't you do the 1% cuts that were previously agreed? Why are we doing, as somebody, I think it was Crotchy, why are we doing continuing resolutions under a conservative Congress? Why are we doing budgets? I thought we were breaking everything down and passing everything one by one. We got to do continuing resolutions still? Oh, that's right, because the money still got to get printed. As you guys have been saying, pretty much the motto for this night's show is meet the new boss, same as the old boss. All of this stuff is the same. And so while Trump is talking about Teslas and Trump is talking about this stuff, he's like, pass my continuing resolution. It's a clean one. I don't even think Trump knows what the hell he's talking about. I don't think Trump knows anything about budgetary politics in the Senate and in the House. Somebody in his, Mike Johnson's like, don't worry, it's a clean bill. We'll get it through. And now he's just pushing it through. But
if you have it, I'd love to hear it. Everybody, everybody can talk a big game. The problem is you have to have a plan to implement it on the field.
So Massie just told you. That's why I went Massie's video first. Massie does have a plan. And Massie's not going to get bullied by Trump. And Trump went out there. I think I have it. And he came out with this. And Kyle Seraphin, who I know he's a fine guy. I don't have any problem with him. Still won't debate me. These guys called me out for a debate like 6 months ago. I said yes, and they've never done it, ironically enough. But that's not his fault. He said correctly, when you threaten somebody, you better be able to bring the pain. Thomas Massie holds his seat because his constituents love him. And so Trump went out and thank you to the House Freedom Caucus for just delivering a big blow to the radical left's Democrats and their desire to raise taxes and shut down our country. They hate America and all it stands for. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. Sometimes it takes great courage to do the right thing. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky is an automatic no on just about everything. Despite the fact he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past, he should be primaried and lead the charge. And I will lead the charge against him. That's a loss, Trump. You do that, you're gonna get blown out. He reminds me of Liz Cheney. No, dude, he is not Liz Cheney. Ain't gonna work. Do I have any takers? Anyway, thank you again to the House Freedom Caucus, blah, 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 blah. This is a loss. Trump, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Massie's constituents love Thomas Massie. Most people like myself love Thomas Massie. The way I look at it is Thomas Massie is the kind of person the founders wanted to run or be in representative government. Not you, Trump. Let's get that. I'll say it again. When the founders created a federalist system with the executive, the legislative, and the executive and the judicial branch, they were hoping people like Thomas Massie would be in those seats. They did not want people like Donald Trump in those seats. I'm not saying Trump is a bad person. He just doesn't know the levers of power that, he's not into the game of governing. He wants everybody to do everything he wants. He wants, real quick, Trump wanted the country to shut down under Biden because he wanted everything fixed. Now he doesn't want anything shut down under him. So it was okay under Biden, but it's not okay under you. It's either okay or it's not. You either pass it under Biden and you pass it under you, or you don't. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here? Let me know in the comment section down below on Rumble, X, YouTube, anywhere. Michael, it's all the same. It's all the same. And even Trump with his promises of doing something different because he's an outsider, they all fall into the same thing, which is why the federal solution never works. And I'm about to channel my inner Steve Cunningham. The only solution is to get as much power from the federal government back into your state governments as possible, because that's the only way it works. Hoping Donald Trump fixes everything is a recipe for disaster. And good for Thomas Massie. Absolutely good for him standing up. But you've got all the conservative grifting MAGites coming out being like, must do what Trump says. Must do what Trump says. Trump said pass bill. We must pass bill now. It's pathetic. It's 100% pathetic, because all we're doing is following our Pied Piper instead of everybody following Obama. We're following Trump. Because I'll tell you why. There's a lot of money in the Trump orbit. I said it yesterday. Now I'll keep saying it, because once you understand it, you see how these people operate. If you Dan Bongino understands this. If he goes outside the Trump sphere of influence, he's going to lose that cushy job at the FBI. Because why would he go? Because he's going to get a federal pension out of this. If he works there for 4 years, he's going to get a federal pension on top of all the other money he makes. Plus, he's going to get books, and he's going to get speaking things, and he's going to do all of this other stuff. And same thing with Jack Posobiec, and same thing with Charlie Kirk, and the same thing with anybody that is telling Thomas Massie to sit down and shut up is somebody, just like with the Epstein list. They protected Pam Bondi and they protected everything. When that was blown out, I told you, whoever is protecting Pam Bondi and going with the narrative, and that includes Tim Cast, who I think, he's the king of YouTube, at least in this space. He was on board with it. And you got to be careful with people like that. You have to be. It sucks, but that's how it is. The people that are supposedly on your side are only there to promote whatever Trump wants promoted. Now, some of them do it because they actually believe in the American First agenda. Great. But outside of it, most of them are there for a paycheck. Benny Johnson, all of these guys, all of them. And that's just how it goes.